Hello everyone, welcome to the first video of chapter Electrochemistry. In this video, I will give you a general introduction to electrochemistry. So let's get started. The main building block of electrochemistry is redox reaction. You have already studied about redox reactions in your previous classes, so let's revise some important topics here. The very first question is, what is a redox reaction? It is a reaction which involves both oxidation and reduction. That is, one substance gets oxidized and the other substance gets reduced. Second basic question is, what are oxidation and reduction reactions? See students, here is a sentence which can be used as a simple trick to remember oxidation and reduction reactions. Leo, the lion, says Gar. Here, Leo is for loss of electron oxidation and Gar stands for gain of electron reduction. So, oxidation is a reaction which involves loss of electron from a species and reduction is a reaction which involves gain of electron by a species. When you combine these two, you get a redox reaction. Therefore, redox reaction is a chemical reaction in which one reactant loses electron, that means it gets oxidized, and another reactant gains electrons, that means it gets reduced. Now I'll give you two examples with which you can understand the concept of redox reactions clearly. Just assume that I have taken a beaker that is filled with copper sulfate solution, that is copper sulfate salt dissolved in water. Therefore, this solution will contain Cu2 plus ions and sulfate ions, SO4 2-. Now, if I dip a rod of zinc metal into this solution, what will happen? A chemical reaction takes place between zinc metal rod and copper sulfate solution, and you will be getting zinc sulfate solution and copper metal as the products. As we all know, zinc is more electropositive when compared to copper. That's why zinc has greater tendency to lose electrons when compared to copper. When you dip zinc rod in copper sulfate solution, zinc readily donates 2 electrons to Cu2 plus ions. Thereby, it gets oxidized to Zn2 plus. Hence, it forms an ion. That means it goes into the solution. It dissolves in the solution. What has happened to Cu2 plus? It has accepted 2 electrons from zinc metal. That's why it gets reduced to copper metal. That means from the dissolved state, it gets converted into solid metal. So here, the zinc metal is oxidized to Zn2 plus ions and Cu2 plus ions are reduced to Cu, that is copper metal. We will take one more example. What happens when you dip copper metal in silver nitrate solution, that is aqueous AgNO3 solution? Here, copper is more electropositive when compared to silver. That's why copper readily donates electrons to silver ions, hence get converted into CuNO3 twice, that is cupric nitrate solution with the deposition of silver metal. You have 2 nitrates here, so put 2 here, 2 silvers. Yeah, the reaction is balanced. Here we have copper metal and 2 silver ions. Copper donates 1 electron each to 2 silver ions. So you get Cu2 plus ions and 2 silver atoms. These copper ions go into the solution and silver is deposited as solid. Here the copper metal is oxidized to Cu2 plus ions and silver Ag plus 1 ions are reduced to metallic silver. So this is another example for redox reaction. Now if you analyze this reaction, what actually happens here is silver ion is taking electron from copper, thereby the copper is getting oxidized to Cu2 plus ion, right? That means we can say this guy is responsible for oxidation of copper. So you can call this silver as oxidant or oxidizing agent. Therefore, the substance which undergoes reduction oxidizes the other reactant. That's why you can call this material as oxidant or oxidizing agent. Similarly, what is this copper doing? it is donating electrons to silver ions. Thereby, silver ions get reduced to silver metal. Hence, you can say this copper is responsible for reduction of silver. Therefore, copper is a reducing agent here, or a reductant. So what is that? The substance which undergoes oxidation is reducing the other reactant. That's why you can call it as a reductant or reducing agent. So, a redox reaction can be considered to be made up of two half reactions. The first one involves loss of electron, hence it is oxidation half reaction. Second one involves gain of electrons, that's why it is a reduction half reaction. If you consider the first example, that is reaction between zinc metal and copper sulfate solution, it can be split into two half reactions. In the first set, the zinc metal loses electrons forming zinc ions. It can be considered as oxidation half reaction. In the second set, the copper ions take up 2 electrons, thereby getting reduced to copper metal. It can be considered as reduction half reaction. Now if you combine these two reactions, 2 electrons on the right side get cancelled with 2 electrons on the left side. So we have the overall reaction. Solid zinc metal reacts with cupric ions from the solution, producing zinc ions and copper metal. Therefore, a redox reaction is a combination of two half reactions. One is oxidation half reaction, second one is reduction half reaction. Okay students, now if you allow this reaction to take place in a single beaker, that is by dipping zinc rod in copper sulfate solution, after some time if you touch the beaker, it will be found to be warmer. And that means when a redox reaction takes place between zinc and copper ions, some amount of energy is released, which is called chemical energy. Using suitable arrangements, this chemical energy can be converted into electrical energy, and that arrangement is called as a galvanic cell or a voltaic cell. Without supplying external energy, the reaction takes place between zinc metal and copper ions. Just like that it happens. So this reaction can be called as a spontaneous chemical reaction. But there could be some other reactions which may not be spontaneous. However, on supplying electrical energy to it, the reaction may become spontaneous. For example, if you melt sodium chloride, that is NaCl, no chemical reaction would take place there. Just the attractive force between ions will break and you will be getting Na plus and Cl minus ions. That's it. But if you supply electrical energy to it, upon providing suitable electrodes, the sodium ions and chloride ions will move towards suitable electrodes. And on the electrodes, the sodium ions can take up electrons, thereby getting reduced to sodium metal. And chloride ions can lose electrons, thereby getting converted to chlorine gas. So loss of electron, it is oxidation. So what has happened here? Upon supplying electrical energy, the sodium ions are reduced to sodium metals and chloride ions are oxidized to chlorine gas. But without supplying external electrical energy, these two reactions are not possible. Hence we can say we are using electrical energy to carry out a redox reaction. You can call such an arrangement as electrolytic cell and the phenomenon as electrolysis. All these are studied in electrochemistry. So, electrochemistry is defined as that branch of chemistry which deals with the relationship between electrical energy and chemical changes taking place in redox reactions. That is, how chemical energy produced in a redox reaction can be converted into electrical energy, or how electrical energy can be used to bring about a redox reaction which is otherwise non-spontaneous. Now, the arrangements used to bring about these conversions are called as electrochemical cells. So we have two types of electrochemical cells. The first one is a galvanic cell or voltaic cell. Second one is electrolytic cell. In case of galvanic cells, the chemical energy produced as a result of redox reaction is converted into electrical energy, whereas in case of electrolytic cell, electrical energy is used to bring about a chemical change. So you can say electrical energy is converted into chemical energy. The chemical changes which involve production or consumption of electricity are called as electrochemical changes. So in this chapter, you will be studying three main aspects of electrochemistry. First one is electrolytic cells and electrolysis. And the second thing is flow of current due to movement of ions, that is called as electrolytic conduction. And the third one is galvanic cells or the voltaic cells. Apart from these, you will also study about batteries, fuel cells and corrosion of metals. Now a question may arise, what are the applications of electrochemistry, or what is the importance of electrochemistry? A number of metals like sodium, magnesium, calcium and aluminium and some other chemicals like sodium hydroxide, chlorine gas, fluorine gas, etc. are commercially produced by electrochemical methods only. You already know the uses of batteries and cells which are used in various instruments, which is another major application of electrochemistry. Inside our body also we can find the application of electrochemistry. The sensory signals from brain to cells or from cells to brain are sent through electrochemical phenomena only. Moreover, if you carry out reactions electrochemically, they are generally energy efficient and they are less polluting. That means they are eco-friendly. That's why study of electrochemistry is gaining much importance now. So students, that was about today's video, that is general introduction to electrochemistry. I hope you understood all the concepts clearly. Thank you so much for watching.